Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about a really ill-advised disciplinary complaint that the Department of Justice signed by the Chief of Staff to the Attorney General has leveled against Jeb Boasberg, the Chief Judge of the District Court. We've seen him frequently, and he's the central figure on the bench, along with Emile Beauvais and others in the administration, in the infamous episode that has still not played out back in March, when he said, turn those planes around, and nevertheless, they landed in CCOT and deposited many so-called deportees, including some who had a right and an order not to go, like Kilmar Abrego Garcia. It's been a total mess for the administration to try to unwind. But there's also very strong suggestion and 3 whistleblower complaints to the effect that the administration, in fact, Emile Beauvais, who is up this week for a vote for a lifetime appointment on the Third Circuit, absolutely inappropriately, breathtakingly inappropriately just said, ignore what the courts have to say. Those planes are going to land no matter what. All right. The charge. There is a well-known canon that says that a judge should not make public comments that bring the judiciary into disrepute. Fair enough, right? A judge shouldn't be out there on the hustings and, totally making keynote addresses at conventions and trashing his colleagues and the like. That's pretty straightforward. What's also pretty straightforward, it does not apply to Judge Boasberg, and this is a really sort of shocking overreach. Okay, here are first of all, the facts right now are limited. We really don't know everything. There is a body called the Judicial Conference. It consists of the chief judges of all the different circuits, and then certain district court judges, and then a few others. But it's really the kind of policy-making body of the judiciary. It's the, executive session. It has different roving folks, but it's, as appointed by the Chief Justice, John Roberts, very highly respected. By the way, Boasberg, his appointment here by Roberts is a sign of something that's just a fact, which is he's hugely respected on both sides of the aisle. But he's someone whom Trump has set in his sights because of his lawful rulings and trying to get to the bottom of what they did back in March and other places. And Bondi, of course, has, trotted along and fallen into line. Okay, so they say that, so here's what we know. This is a private meeting that they have 4 times a year, something they go over things. Somebody makes kind of takes notes about it. And then somebody at a right-wing organization, the Federalist Conference, sees the notes and files and then has its own kind of summary of what happened. So for starters, it is far from verified that this is a complete and fully reliable recitation. But on even this recitation, what it says is that Boasberg relayed concerns, that's the word it uses, about whether the administration would, in fact, not follow rulings by the courts. And Roberts responded to this by saying, hopefully nothing like that will happen. And they then moved on. All right. On that basis, the administration has filed a very intemperate, incendiary trashing of Boasberg, saying, first, he said all these things which are a lie because we have always complied with all orders. And second, they bring the judiciary into disrepute, and they make the other judges who were there think that falsely think the administration won't be following orders, and therefore he ought to be disciplined. Okay, where to start? Even with what we know, this is a complete garbage, and I just have to take it as a PR stunt. First, It's a private meeting of the Judicial Conference. The canon in question says you can't make certain public comments. It's not a public comment. That's for starters. These are very, there are other people there. It's a high level meeting, but it's not a public meeting. And it really is where high level judicial business is transacted. Second, even this, and I believe we're going to see that things are really sort of elliptical and misleading here. But even the account, this third-hand account of the Federalist Conference says concerns about. So the natural, I think, inference, and it just stands to reason with who Boasberg is that this was in response to a general solicitation by the Chief Justice. Are there concerns out there? But even if it wasn't, it is Boasberg absolutely relaying what are the concerns of his colleagues. And who are his colleagues? This is the District Court of D.C. This is the very court that they came into office and right away just raised the work of 3 years of trying all the insurrectionists, seeing what total black-hearted criminals they were, and then all of a sudden making them, the president and administration, making them lionized and heroes. This is a court that has been jaundiced about the administration from the start. And third, and most important, she says it, but it doesn't make it so that the administration has never violated any orders. The best, in fact, evidence we have is that you bet they have. And guess who really is the mastermind of the violation of the orders? You got it. Emile Beauvais, who they're fixing to try to give a lifetime appointment on the Third Circuit. But we have 3 different whistleblowers who have said that at the very time this, just days after, when it came time to try to get planes to El Salvador, he said they're landing there no matter what. We have to consider saying fuck you to the courts. It's exactly what did happen. And so it's Orwellian in the extreme for the whole complaint here to be based on their assertion that, and what makes it even more outrageous, says the administration, is he wasn't telling the truth, which of course he was. Concerns about the administration not following judicial orders. My God, that's a soft way of putting it, given what transpired after. So what we have is a private meeting where he relays very well-founded concerns that I think do nothing to put the judiciary into disrepute. And, this is a complaint that misses by a mile and sort of in every dimension. So, but what's going on, or what's the perniciousness of it? First, it could very much cow other judges, right? Oh my God, nobody wants to get a complaint on their record. Very few people do. Boasberg, hugely respected, but a sort of standard issue district court judge here or there getting an important case, that doesn't want to be falsely accused and have to defend. I have to defend. Typically, this is going to go now to the head of the D.C. Circuit, who I think if it weren't the administration would just give it the total back of the hand, and maybe he will anyway. But because it's the administration, maybe, he'll give it a little more credence. But that's one. And then the other audience would be the faithful, who this really revs up in the absolutely false surmise that you have judges who are rogue, who are, specifically trying to screw the Trump administration and the like. That has to be, I think, the real audience for it. And it's just, a shame that there's no easy avenue for redressing someone who brings a really spurious complaint like this, because that's who Pam Bondi is, and that's what she has done. So she can't hope, I think, to win this. And she'll say at the end, well, the judges protect their own. But the whole thing is really just a load of crap done for, both PR and political reasons, or maybe just to make Trump happy. But by its own terms, it is really meritless. And I think we're going to find out its own terms are incomplete, and there's more to the story than the version from a right-wing interest group that they went running with to make the basis of their complaint. But either way, it's just more of a war on the judiciary. And I just want to say, on a particular judge who, this is the same guy, law school roommate with Brett Kavanaugh, very well respected on all sides of the aisle. They make a big thing about how he was reversed by the Supreme Court, but that was about whether you have to bring a certain challenge as in habeas corpus or not. The Supreme Court basically backed him on the idea that there must be due process. So it's just a complete kind of ideological document meant to really continue to push around and cow the judiciary. I don't think it'll happen with Boasberg. I think he's, pretty strong, nor will he lean over the other way. He is really a judge's judge. But all in all, it's a garbage complaint that can only have bad effects. And coming from the Attorney General in the United States, actually, she doesn't sign it. She just talks about it and talks about these rogue judges. It's just one more chapter, one more count in what's been a really discreditable, shameful kind of record of confrontation. We just talked about the Hobbit case in another YouTube that's completely without any kind of foundation and just designed for political purposes for Donald Trump, the opposite of what you look for in an attorney general. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.